hopefully this is the last episode, or at least close to it, but we are making progress. So I did mention that I was skipping this power steering cooler relocation kit because I didn't have it in my box from ECS, nor was it on the packing slip. I was thinking maybe that this is old instructions and we no longer need to do this. However, I talked to Dave at ECS and he said we do need this. For some reason, it wasn't on my packing slip and it wasn't in the box, so he's sending that out to me. It'll be here this Friday. In addition to that, one of the steps was that if your blower didn't come assembled, you had to clock it in the right orientation. Mine did come assembled, however it is assembled in the wrong orientation. My charge pipe is coming off kind of at like a 45-degree angle and ending up in front of my crank pulley. It realistically needs to go down almost at the same angle as this here drain line that we added on. So I don't want to take it off, all the brackets and everything, but these are what allow you to clock it. So I'm going to loosen these Allen keys up, and hopefully I can get to all of them and rotate this to the proper orientation. Okay, so I was able to loosen all of these Allens. Don't take them off, just loosen them all the way around, even on the bottom. And now we can adjust the angle of the charge pipe, and we're looking to point it, from my understanding, almost straight down, I think. I don't know, I'll have to see. Okay, here's the angle that it is coming out of. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little angled down, maybe like 10-15 degrees towards that side. It's not straight down. With the charge piping, we need it to come off of here and make this 90-degree turn into here. I removed this pipe from the blower, and I'm gonna just take some like rough estimates on how long it needs to be. You can see we need to chop some off here. Okay, so I just used a razor blade. Definitely get a new blade because this is kind of hard to cut through. I found the best technique to get nice flat cuts is to put your knee down on it, and be careful with your knee this close, but fold it over in half and then just make one solid cut through. And I just kept cutting until it came apart. If I had to guess, I took about 2.5 inches off of both sides, and that seems to fit pretty nice. Plenty of overlap on the bottom. There's not a ton of flange coming off the blowers, so you got to be careful not to cut too much off of this side. Just got the clamps on here, but as I was thinking, because my CSF radiator is so delayed, I think I am just going to modify the stock one. But let me tell you, I don't really know how you're supposed to fit that massive charge pipe to fit over this, even with these cut off. But I may consider just cutting these down right now and trying to use the stock one for now until I get the CSF in. So looking at the instructions, it says to allow for clearance of the air intake and charge tube, gently hammer or mallet tap down the top rails of the radiator as shown on the passenger side. You will find a split in the top rail that measures 4 3/4 inches from the right tank and in the center. A split. I don't necessarily see a split, but I think I am just going to chop it probably about here and get these folded down. And I'm not sure about here, but I will test fit that other pipe and see if we need to do in here as well. Okay, a little test fit. It is very close, but it does fit. I may take down these sharp corners at like a 45-degree angle just so it doesn't puncture through this. This one is plastic, but this one is just holding the air intake filter down here. This is going to be the charge pipes. This will be under boost. This one is aluminum, and it looks like they welded on the MAF sensor. It does look like that one is gonna fit. It will likely rest on the top here, which I think I'm going to knock the middle down while I'm in here, just so I don't have to do it later, but it does look like it would fit normally. So let's do about here and about here. And then, like I said, 45s off of those ones. And if I could just use this and cut it off. Oh, these just cut through it. I don't even need this. Yeah, that allows it to sit a little lower, but I don't know if it was even needed. But I just don't want it rubbing on here. I guess I could have got rid of these two as well, but too late, they're here. So because I'm going through with using this stock radiator, I'm going to focus on putting on the fans as well as the stock oil cooler, which I believe needs to mount on the back side now. Okay, so next update is that I am missing my power steering cooler from ECS. I'm also missing my relocation brackets for the engine oil cooler that this car came with. So they're sending out both of those to me. So I kind of am just doing little odds and ends here and there while I wait. So I got the charge piping, whatever you want to call it, coming off of the blower. Got that all mounted up, put the sway bar on, and according to the directions, this is accurate how it's supposed to be mounted. It does get crushed a little bit, but it just turns into an oval instead of a circle, so I think it'll be fine. Moving on, I just got to get the sway bar tightened up. I am running into the top part of this AC line, which I may try to bend this down a little bit. But I'm running into my other coolant overflow hose here, so I may have to get that off. So I was actually able to get it to fit by just pulling the condenser up and putting this bracket underneath. It does kind of rub here a little bit. I don't know how that's going to affect with the hood on here, but now I'm going to take it back off just so I can get the coolant overflow pipe on there. Okay, so I can't really figure out exactly what the routing is supposed to be. It doesn't appear that there would be any room to get it underneath here with this chunky fitting. So I went over the top, but it doesn't look like the condenser sits in these tabs for the radiator, but it's still pretty secure. It's on the other side. It doesn't really, it can't move up because this is holding it down. It can't move down because this is holding it up. So whatever, I think it'll be fine. Maybe the alignment's just gonna be a little crooked, if you can tell, but the next thing we're gonna do is put on the radiator fan. So we're gonna go get that, put it in here. So while we're down here, I think I need to get the transmission lines put back in. So I'm gonna do that next. I think that has to go on before the radiator fan goes on. New lower radiator hose is going on. So let's get this clamped down. Top radiator hose is on, bottom one, transmission cooler. The fan kit is on. I do need to get the two 10mm bolts put in here, but it's just sitting in the cradle and it seems all right, but we're still gonna put those little 10 mils in. Okay, so your next step is to zip tie this new stainless steel drain line for the supercharger. to your power steering rack, and then we're going to get that cut back. So we got the fans back in. The drain line is zip tied up away. I got this plug still hanging down. I got to figure out where that goes. Oh, I think that goes up in that ABS module, so I got to get that up there. Yeah, so the oil cooler kit should put it right back here in front of that sway bar. So I got my lines ready for that. Looks like we're putting on these little tab extensions, similar to what we use to mount the intercooler pipe on the back side over there, I believe. We are going to mount this like that to allow for more room for the front bumper. I'm leaving the round edge facing forward just so that we have more adjustment in the future. As I'm reading through a lot of these next steps, it's a lot of like trimming the front air dam, trimming the front bumper cover, a lot of that stuff. So I'm gonna skip those steps because I do want to be able to start this up while all the hoses and clamps and everything is exposed. I don't want to start wrapping everything up and then realize there's a boost leak or there's a coolant leak or an oil leak. So I'm going to leave everything off, and our last step will be to put the plastic back on, the bumper covers, the hood. So we're going to skip that. We're going to just keep moving on. It looks like I'll have plenty of room to put the intercooler, the oil cooler and the power steering cooler in from the bottom, so I don't need to worry about doing that from the top. Got all the clamps on here. So now we need to get the map sensor, and I probably got to get it off whatever that little clip is there, just so it can reach a little easier. Okay, so we're taking off our old mass airflow sensor. I'm gonna go in like this. So the restrictor plate looks like it comes in this package here, and I'm pretty sure it just sits right inside here. So here's the supplied T-fitting. It's got two fittings coming off of it. We got it from the front barb there, around the brake booster. I went underneath this reservoir, along the side here, and then down, and then it comes out about there. I have the excess just wrapped around, but you have to install this little banjo fitting on the end of the blow-off valve. I will cut that back once I'm happy with the routing. Just got the ECU back from my tuner with a base tune on it, so at least this car will run. I do have to get a new map sensor. We're going to an LS9 map sensor, but let's get this reinstalled behind the fender. So I got that one screw done that's like down over here. Had to use all my extensions and get it put in. It is such a pain, but now we can get the rest of this fitted on here. Yesterday we got the fender on with the ECU all plugged in, so this is all buttoned up. I ended up going through and just replacing the spark plugs. I didn't record it, but if you're doing a project like this, you should know how to do spark plugs. So I got the new NGKs in there that ECS sent me. I just received another package from ECS today, so this wasn't originally included in the kit, and I found out through the instructions that this wasn't optional. I do need this, so we're getting rid of the big power steering cooler and installing this smaller one here with the new bracket. So that's going to be our next step. So this is everything that comes in the power steering cooler kit. So I got 4 hose clamps, 1 hose, and the cooler here. Step 1, we're cutting the hose into 2 pieces, one 5-inch, the other one 15. So ideally, well, this is about 46, 47 inches. So we'll have plenty of left over, but let's go with a 5-inch cut, which will be right after the 4 there. 15. So what we're grabbing are these, look like 10 mils right here. It should be going up on top like here, like that. I think we'll be going over to this bolt there. Okay, so it's a tight fit with everything underneath here, but I ended up stealing this hard line from the original power steering cooler, pulled off the clamp they had and the rubber hose. So now I'm using the 5-inch hose to our cooler, put it through a different hole. This is the original, this is the one we're using. That one is not tapped, however it's a steel screw, or I guess bolt, going through an aluminum engine cradle, so it will put threads in it, so just send it home. A little cooler, and then the other one is going all the way up, and I'll show you. The other one is going to go to the bottom of here. There's this little nipple you're going to attach it to there with the hose clamp. Okay, you can see we got it on there. Pretty tight fit. If I had to redo it, instead of going 15 inches, I would cut that one 16 inches. So we're putting this tube coming off of here. I just have the brass barb going into there, following the tube here. So I watched another video. It seems like I'm gonna cut it off about here. Let's see if this will go through it. Okay, so this is just a plastic tube with this disconnect here. I think we're only running vacuum on this, so not a huge deal. Hopefully that'll allow it to stay underneath the cover there. This is what I have for the catch can setup. It's gonna be like a 2.5-inch piece of tube, one-way check valve. I don't know if you can see it. The arrows are pointing towards the catch can. Another 2.5-inch piece of tube. The arrow is pointing towards the long side of the tube. So on your car, this is the hose we're taking off. So I think it's just connecting the valley cover there to the intake manifold, and our catch can is gonna just basically come off of one of them, loop back around, and go back to the other. So to get this off, there's little tabs here you have to pull back and bring it around, and then it'll release. So you can see I got it on back there. Try to tighten this down, but then this side is going back over to here. But I don't think we obviously need this long. We can shorten this up. Okay, so I'm getting this reconnected here. Whatever this little like evap canister is, that'll probably need to be zip tied or something, but looks like next we're doing fuel injectors. So we're gonna have to get these the clips off the injectors here, hopefully without breaking them. I've heard nothing but bad stories about how brittle these clips become from the heat. So we're gonna try to be extra careful. So I was just reading that people highly recommend taking this cap off and pressing this Schrader valve to release any fuel pressure that's still in there. So I'm gonna get my head out of the way here. Oh yeah, look, we still got some fuel in here. All right, looks like we are also going to have to get these 4 10 mils off there, so let's get it disconnected and then we'll get those off. So it's like a retainer clip here. That's probably a safety thing. And then I bought this tool off of Amazon. This was, I want to say, like $7. And it says this side is 3/8. I believe that's the side we're using. So let me get my already fuel soaked rag underneath here. I think we just squeeze and there it goes. Super easy. You can see there's like 4 teeth in there that you need to press down with something round like this. So definitely worth the $7 so you don't have to fight or damage those teeth. Let's see, I think it's this one. Oh, those are not 10s. Let's see. Am I on the wrong thing? Yeah, looks like I need to be down here. Huh, it's got a stud. Okay. Just take notes, like a stud style nut. Looks like I need to get this off too, and that looks like an 8. We'll swap out. Wow, it's a long one. Keep track of that. Okay. Okay, so I just had to loosen those like retainer clip that was on the back there, and then I was able to pull it off and get that last one unclipped. So now we're gonna go through, and I believe we're gonna have to remove these metal retainers here, get these pulled off, and then get the injectors pulled out. All right, all the new injectors are on. So what I'm gonna do is probably wipe down each one of these red seals with WD-40 and then get it pressed on. That's all tightened down. Let's get the clips on and then this braided line. Let's see about this little clip here. So I'm just test fitting the hood right now. Let me see if I can show you guys. But there is room up there. So we have plenty of room above the intake pipe here. But what I also looked at is down here is my Boost-a-Pump. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it is just about to touch and we're not clamped down. So I don't think I can mount it next to the fuse box like I had hoped. Okay, so to get the rear fender liner out, it's just a couple of screws. You can see like these silver points where it mounts to. Pretty simple, just probably like 10 screws. Whole thing pulls out. You just got to kind of bend it around this corner here. So what we're going to be doing is getting this plug here. The thick gray wire is the same one that I was pointing at under the hood. So we're going to mount the Boost-a-Pump probably in this back corner somewhere where you see that like butyl tape there. We're going to wire in the Boost-a-Pump to this gray wire, and then we will find a ground probably right to the frame on the side of it here. So we'll get that down to bare metal and probably just put like a self tapper through it. Okay, so we got the Boost-a-Pump removed from the engine bay. What I'm thinking is hiding it right about there. So I think there's a lot of negative space behind this here brake duct. So I think I'm gonna hit it with probably 2 or 3 of those self tappers that it came with right there, and then mounting the ground to this pre-drilled hole there. Okay, so it's a couple days later. I just got some parts in the mail. This is the plug and play fuel pump wiring harness from Racetronics. Ordered this like 48 hours ago, and it came from Toronto, Canada to Phoenix, Arizona in like 2 days. So huge shout out to Racetronics for that. Also got the oil cooler relocation bracket. I think I was supposed to get 2, but ECS sent me 1, so now I'm gonna have to wait for another one. Okay, so this looks a little messy, but you can see I got the 2 Racetronics plugs plugged into the OEM plugs. And if we follow here, it looks like our power wire comes down here. I have it running into the orange wire to the Boost-a-Pump, and then I have it leaving in the red wire, and I've hardwire soldered and shrink wrapped both of these. And then this one is going to the solenoid looking thing here, and then that is going to be running all the way up to the radiator, or to the alternator up there. Okay, so I made a lot of progress last night on the wiring of this. I didn't record it because there was a lot of figuring it out, and progress was pretty slow and boring. So I have all the connections made up top there. I ended up zip tying and tucking them up high just to keep them away from water. I put this plastic sheathing on everything just to make it very OEM-like. You can see I got my ground situated back here, so that's both the wiring harness ground and the Boost-a-Pump ground are both on that point there with a self-tapper. Had to move the Boost-a-Pump up as high as I could just to make room for the brake duct here. I got the solenoid self-tap there as well. Ended up running the Boost-a-Pump, I guess turn-on wire, we'll call it, the one that goes to the boost sensor underneath the hood, or the Hobbs switch, inside the wiring loom here. So it is inside the Racetronics loom. And then if we look, I have it going all the way down the rocker up behind here, and you'll see the washer bottle there. And there's a little gap you can get it out through here. So I just tucked all my spare wiring here. Got everything shrink wrapped, got a connector on there, all wired to the Hobbs switch. Everything zip tied and pretty tidy in this corner as far as the extra fuse. And then I have the additional power running to the positive on the alternator. So that should be all wired up and ready to go. One of the things the guys at ECS said is to change out your fuel pump fuse. Your fuel pump fuse for a 25 amp. I think a 20 is in there already, so we'll be doing that next.